Ganga Karunanga Ji Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sudhi Devi Purnamani Aripriye Pandagalpa Dhurubhasya Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Bhavabhyo Vaishnabhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
No one should be talking. Class is going on, so if you need to talk, you go outside.
So I'll take you all back to 48 years ago or so. I was 18-year-old young brahmachari, came 6-7 months before the temple was open, and I have no clue where I came here for. I guess Krishna has some mission. After a few months, the temple was about to open. There's lots of devotees came from all over the world. I will say in my bad memory, maybe about 600, 700 devotees from all over the world, mostly from USA, Europe, and Southern America. We didn't have many Indian temples at that time, nor we have many Indian devotees. I was one of the few Indian boys was here in Vrindavan, and mostly there was no Russian devotees or Chinese devotees. We were still new at the time. So my job that day, 2 days or whatever before, other than assisting Mother Devashakti, cleaning Prabhupada's quarters and cleaning Prabhupada bucket and so on and so forth, also was given the duty of decorating the temple. And I distinctly remember, because I was young and like a monkey nature, I was able to climb all the way up there and putting all kinds of colorful flags everywhere. We had colorful, and the highlight of our opening was Prabhupada is doing Arati. That was the highlight of our opening. And after a few days, I got initiated. And after Ramnavami, 3-4 days or something like that, again, there's a beautiful kirtan. Every day this place would be packed of devotees, morning, afternoon, and there's no place, and 80% devotees stayed in Fogal Ashram because there is no place here, and the guest house for GBC and Sannyasi was a brahmachari ashram where I think Matajis are staying now. And so I start off my life. Before that, 12 devotees, maybe 13, I'm not sure. just and there's a lot of old devotees that came, and Akshananda Maharaj and Dhananjaya became, that time Prabhupada made them co-managers, not president. Then later on, Akshananda became president, and me and Akshananda, we were traveling around, preaching, distributing books. We were the first one to go out and to our fourth temple. Radharasi was in the shack. Radha Madan Mohan was in the Parsardis, like one bedroom place in Bengali market. We used to go across the street and eat a lot of sweets. And Gopal Krishna Maharaj just became GBC for all of India. And I don't know, friend Bhima, you were here at the opening? Yeah. Okay. He is my old friend Bhima that no more in Bombay. I was, and they were all doing Mahavishnu, Prabhavishnu, and so many great souls, great devotees, Dhritarashtra. The long story short, the opening divine, thousands of people came, and Prabhupada was very, very happy to open this wonderful temple. And I wanted to say just 2 minutes of our opening of Srila Prabhupada Samadhi Museum. It was a project for a long time, design, and now it came. I thank Panchagopal executing and Mulchand and his workers assisting all this work. The Russian artist Vasudev Krishna, he was the main one to help us with all the painting and everything. And my late wife, Mother Parvati, helped with the funds and so on and so forth. It was her dream even in her last breath. She was unconsciousness and came back, and first thing she wanted to know where the artist was, and she was giving the understanding how this should be done, and this is done beyond her imagination and beyond her conception how this should be. So again, I'm very, very grateful not only to Panchagauda Prabhu, also his great wife, Gaura Purnima, who helped to push Panchagauda to get this going. So I'm very grateful to Mataji. Without her help, this would not have happened. And now this is the biggest tool in our toolbox for ISKCON Vrindavan. So this is not just a diorama we can go and see the museum. We will be utilizing this purpose to preach Krishna consciousness. This is goal for Prabhupada. He's not interested in big building or murti or anything like that. So this will tell the story for the people who come here, who we are. Most people think we are just Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, started about 50 years ago or so. No. We emphasize by telling the story that we come from Krishna directly. Brahma, Vyasadeva, Narada Muni, Vyasadeva, 6 Goswamis, and so on and so forth. So that is one thing. The other things we also tell people who is Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada worked very, very hard in Vrindavan, in Radha Damodar. He was very happy because his Guru Maharaj gave 2 main instructions. One was preach to the English-speaking world, and 2, if you have any money, please print books. So this is our program. Our program is to print and distribute books. This is the life and soul of our society. Everything else is extra cherry. But we cannot forget where we came from and what we're supposed to do. What we're supposed to do is chant Hare Krishna, take prasad, and distribute millions of books, because the books can tell more stories than what one of us can say. Of course, we are become powerful when we represent Srila Prabhupada. We are nothing, zero, if we don't represent Prabhupada. So it is very important that we get our knowledge, our talent, our whatever it is all because of mercy of Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. On this great occasion, again, I offer my humble obeisances to all the devotees for made these things possible, and have a wonderful Ram Navami. Hopefully, few more years, and me and Deva Shakti and few others, Dinabandhu and Bhima, all here to celebrate 50th anniversary, and we will see you all again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prasanatma Prabhu. I wanted to start. I just happened to see this yesterday. This is from Srila Prabhupada's purport of Srimad Bhagavatam, the 10th canto, 13th chapter, which means it's the last chapter that Srila Prabhupada translated. And this was from the 50th verse. Srila Prabhupada says, the word Svagartanam refers to great desires. As mentioned in this verse, the glance of Lord Vishnu creates the desires of the devotees. A pure devotee, however, has no desires. Therefore, Sanatana Goswami comments that because the desires of devotees whose attention is fixed on Krishna have already been fulfilled, the Lord's sidelong glances create variegated desires in relation to Krishna and devotional service. In the material world, desire is a product of Rajogun and Tamogun, but desire in the spiritual world gives rise to a variety of everlasting transcendental service. Thus, the word Svakartanam refers to eagerness to serve Krishna. In Vrindavan, there is a place where there was no temple, where there is no temple, but a devotee desired. Of course, Srila Prabhupada desired. He's saying a devotee desired. Srila Prabhupada rarely called himself a devotee. This is very special. In Vrindavan, there is a place where there is no temple, but a devotee desired. Let there be a temple and seva, devotional service. Therefore, what was once an empty corner has now become a place of pilgrimage. Such are the desires of a devotee. So we're all here by Srila Prabhupada's desire. This temple is here by Srila Prabhupada's desire. Everything in ISKCON is manifesting by Srila Prabhupada's desire. And now we're going to hear from a very dear godbrother who is here for the opening, and he's been here in India forever. Bhima Prabhu. He has many letters behind his name. He's on the VEB, this committee, that committee. He's a very sincere servant of Srila Prabhupada, and we're very happy to have you here today, Bhima Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Ghananjana Chalakaya Chakshur Unmiditam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So that was in the year 1975. Srila Prabhupada sent a letter that as many devotees as possible should come to the Mayapur festival. And I had gone the year before in 74, so Makanlal, who was our temple president, later on took sannyas, as we all know, Madhurya Bhakti Madhurya Govinda Maharaj. He didn't want so many devotees to go because, temple had to run, and in the first year in 74, he let everybody go, and so he was more conservative. But because the letter said, especially those who are ready for second, I got to go because I was up for second initiation. So came to the Mayapur festival, ecstatic festival, and then we took a train from Calcutta to Hyderabad. From Calcutta to Hyderabad, the whole bogie was filled out with just devotees. And Srila Prabhupada was going to do a Pandal program in Hyderabad. And there was an interesting train ride. I was sitting with Achyutananda and Tamal Krishna Maharaj and Bhavananda Maharaj, and I was a very lowly brahmachari in those days. Now I'm a lowly householder. And all of a sudden we stop in Vishakhapatnam, I think it was, and this old Gaudiya Math sannyasi gets on the train, and he has all these baskets of lemon rice, right? And he feeds all the devotees lemon rice. The leaf plates are there. And I learned that this was Bhakti Vaibhav Puri Maharaj. And everybody seemed to know him, like Tamal Krishna Maharaj, and they were all talking very animatedly with him. And then the train started. And Maharaj didn't get off, and I was like in anxiety, hey, the train's going. But they said, that's all right. He's made arrangement at the next station for somebody to pick him up. So I realized there was some organization that was happening that was beyond my perception. But we got to Hyderabad, and there was a nice Pandal program, a very nice Pandal program, many lakhs of people, not lakhs, but there was about 10,000 people at the ground that came to hear Srila Prabhupada's lectures. And one thing that stood out in my mind when we were at the house of Pula Reddy, who was the person that donated the land in Hyderabad for the temple, which was under construction. At Pula Reddy's house, well, two things stood out. One was the rasgullas were very nice. He owned a sweet shop, Pula Reddy's sweet shop. And the other thing was that Srila Prabhupada came to the program in a 1959 Impala convertible. And I thought, where did they get this, And many, many, many years later on the Hyderabad, I went to Hyderabad in the BBT library party to sell sets in the libraries. And I still saw those 59 Impalas with the big fins. They were still using them, they're still renting them out. But then we went from Hyderabad, after the Hyderabad program, with so many things, so many wonderful things happened. Just to cut the story short, again, it was all the devotees, in the bogie, and we're headed towards Mathura, Vrindavan. And along the train ride, I saw this Indian sadhu. He was in saffron, and he was sitting on his suitcase by the bathroom. All the other devotees had a seat, but he didn't have a seat. But he was, he was a little older than most of the other devotees. So I didn't think he was really part of our party. He just, in India they kind of just get in the train and ride along even though they don't have a seat. And he didn't really talk to many people, and he was sitting there by the bathroom. So anyway, we got here to Vrindavan, and the preparations were being made for the installation of Radha Shyam Sundar, Krishna Balaram, Gaur Nitai. All the deities, by the way, were right there where the Indra plaque is. They were all there, and they were wrapped in white cloth. Their eyes were bound with bandages so they couldn't see, right? And the whole courtyard was filled with this, kutir-like structure with thatched roofs and made out of wood, and the sacrifice was going on, and the Brahmins were chanting mantras. And Srila Prabhupada would come down once in a day and sit there very patiently for hours, and they would be chanting the mantras and decorating his forehead and tie some kusha grass on his fingers, and I could see that he was patiently tolerating everything. And later on in the Bhagavatam, he writes that this wasn't required. Actually, all that was required was the kirtan, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram. That's all we needed. And we could install Krishna Balaram, Gaur Nitai, Radha Shyam Sundar, the gopis. But just so that the local residents understood that everything was done correctly, he invited these Brahmins to come and do the ceremonies. So he was patiently sitting through that. And one impression I had was Srila Prabhupada had invited the governor of Uttar Pradesh, Mr. Channareddy. He's actually from Andhra, but he was the governor of Uttar Pradesh. He came to the opening, and there was a drama in the courtyard. It was the Bhima and Jarasandha fight, okay? And the Vaikuntha players from New York had come to do the drama. Right? I wasn't Bhima. It was somebody else. But Srila Prabhupada, I was standing right behind him, and he was sitting right next to, Mr. Channareddy, the Honorable Governor of Uttar Pradesh. And while the play was going on, Srila Prabhupada animatedly was telling the whole story about how Bhima killed Jarasandha. It was a wonderful play. And the other impression that I had was on the opening day, it was packed. It was packed with people. The governor was up there in front, and they had all these army people here, and it was just completely packed out. And when Srila Prabhupada did the artik, the first artik, and he turned with the lamp to show it to all the devotees, a famous photograph, he has this grin on his face from ear to ear. He's so happy, And one time when he came to Detroit, in just the summer after, in '76, he came to Detroit, and he was seeing the Fisher Mansion, and he was walking around, and if you've ever been there, they have golden doorknobs, and it's so opulent, very, very opulent. So he was walking through, and his eyes were very big, and he was seeing everything, and he said, turned to the devotees, and he said, "This is our most opulent temple, except for Vrindavan. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki." So then after the installation took place, it was time for, actually Balaram's Ras Purnima, Prabhupada was going to give initiations. So Achyutananda was doing fire sacrifice, and we were there, and I was supposed to get second, so there are many devotees there. And I saw this old sadhu that was in the train, old, not old, but older than most of us, and he was in the fire sacrifice. So I nudged somebody, who's this, you know? And they said, well, that's Gaur Govinda. He's taking sannyas. Gaur Govinda Maharaj ki. So I can understand this was a very humble person. And Tripurari also got sannyas that year, or that day. And there was after the fire sacrifice, one interesting thing that happened was that, you know, the Yajñashala was decorated with fruits. They had pineapples and all kinds of fruits. In India in those days, fruits were hard to come by, you know. And I remember after the yajna, the devotees dived for the fruits. And at Chutyananda, he got very indignant. He was doing the fire sacrifice. He said, this is nonsense. This is not how to act. Put all those fruits down. How are you acting this, that? So they put all the fruits back very timidly. And then he took his sannyas thing and started the collective fruits for himself. So anyway, there were so many things happening at that time, and it was very, very amazing experience. Later on, Srila Prabhupada gave me the thread and showed me how to chant the Gayatri mantra in the room. So this temple has great significance for me in many, many different ways, as it does for all of us. And I remember at the first artik looking up at the face of Krishna Balaram and just thinking that, you know, they're like my mother, they're like my father, they're everything all wound up into one. So we're very, very fortunate to have been at the function, and extremely fortunate to have all these years been able to come to Krishna Balaram Mandir, associate with the deities, and associate with all the wonderful devotees here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Bhima Prabhu. He gave you some idea. Things were very different in 1975. I talked with Daiva Shakti just a few days ago as she was preparing to speak. She's always prepared to speak, but anyway, she was speaking with me. And she said to me, she said, so when the opening happened, just like you said, Governor Reddy was here, and she said, so Prabhupada normally took prasadam at 1 o'clock. Prabhupada was very, very regulated. Massage, bath, prasadam, every day, 1 o'clock. You could set your watch. But of course he didn't, because the ceremony was going on. So Daiva Shakti said to me, what time did he take prasadam? I said, Daiva Shakti, this festival for me, I was with Prabhupada for installation of Radha Lokananda in the banner. I was at Melbourne, Australia for the Radha Krishna installation. I was in Paris. I was in Bhaktivedanta Manor. For me, these things were happening every day. Like every day was festival day with Prabhupada, huh? And he's continuing that. But of course, I didn't remember anything. So we knew he took prasadam about an hour later. And she knew exactly what she prepared for him that day. Maybe she'll tell you. And then she said to me, when did you eat? I said, I guess after Prabhupada. She said, what did you eat? I said, I ate Prabhupada's Maha. That was my life, eating Prabhupada's Maha Prasadam. And I see now, as you said, Prabhupada, he built this temple. He built it for me. This is my home. And it's all of
He built it for me. This is my home. And it's all of your homes. This is our home here at Vrindavan, this Krishna Balaram Mandir. He put it here for us. And he's very happy we're making very good use of it. Now we're going to hear from our temple president. Why don't you go to Prabhu? No, we were. And of course, he was probably distributing books during the openings in some airport somewhere. But as you all know, he's been here for pretty much the last 20 years. So all of you, please welcome Guru Prabhu, our temple president.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So as Shrutakirti Prabhu said that Srila Prabhupada gave us a beautiful shelter here, and you see the excitement of all the devotees for the opening 1975 Ram Navami, and even though we had a 40th anniversary, it brought out the emotions and the feelings for all the devotees that Srila Prabhupada is looking out for everybody here, because Krishna Balaram and Shri Shri Gauranitai, Lita Vishaka Radhashama Sundar, especially in Vrindavan, to have the association of devotees and to be in the middle of the 24-hour kirtan, to hear the Bhagavatam, and an opportunity to really make rapid advancement in Krishna consciousness. Many could not come, many were on Sankirtan. I was still in Buffalo at that time, ended up in Florida. But we're here now, and we should take great advantage of this wonderful opportunity. You'll hear from so many of the devotees who are personally rendering service to Srila Prabhupada and are still rendering that same service. And Prasanatma Prabhu described the emotion of the museum, Srila Prabhupada's museum. I think it's one of the best in the world, if you see it. It is a good, beautiful preaching message. Srila Prabhupada established Krishna Balaram Mandir to preach to the world the glories of Krishna Balaram and Vrindavan lifestyle. So we should all very enthusiastically perform our devotional service here in the Dham, so that others can also be inspired by our good example. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hey, thank you very much. I'm sure everyone has seen the photographs of Prabhupada doing arti and with the fan and the Shamara fan. You know, there's a lot of things going on behind the scene while Prabhupada's doing arti. And most of it is to be the assistant pujari. See, I was Prabhupada's servant. So when Prabhupada did arti, I was there. I was the assistant, just like you see when the Swamis do arti and Brahmachari's there. And so I would do that. But Brahmananda, he was Prabhupada's secretary. He was also Prabhupada's everything. He was Prabhupada's first son, you know. But I thought I was going to be the assistant pujari. Brahmananda is this. So I was in the back, behind Krishna Balaram's altar, but I was there for the ceremony. But that was our life with Srila Prabhupada. Every day, wonderful days. Prabhupada engaged us 24 hours a day. So now, let me see, I think we're going to hear from our dear godbrother, Darivansha Prabhu. No, you're next. It's your turn. They made their request. So, speak. You were here. Mangalacha. Okay.
Your plugs in.
Mangalacha in the opening for Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. I like thank you very much for the management here in Vrindavan Dham, especially Panchagauda Prabhu, Dharmatma Prabhu, or they are very much friendly with me. Mercy of my spiritual master Prabhupada ji. So I am very much happy also. My good friend here, Bhakti Bingam Maharaj is here. That time his name is Ayodyapati. He is my close friend. So I am very happy. His darshan. So he is always walking, talking with me, joking. He was the best cook here for the devotee. I am the pujaris. So always we are very good friend. Samarahari Prabhu, all the Gunanama Prabhus, Akshayananda Maharaj, Harishwari Prabhu, they are all, by Devi Shakti Mataji, they support me so much for beginning when I joined here. Prasanatma Prabhu was also here. So, but that time the festival, but I was a new bhakta, so I am so, because you know the new bhakta is, you have to go everywhere, here, there, wherever the temple commander engaged for the seva. So I was cleaning the pots, washing, cutting vegetable. So that time all big devotees, ahead, but at that time I was somewhere here, there for cutting vegetable, busy day that day. So then after opening the temple, then after that the puja is very short. So but then after Prabhupada give me the Brahmana initiation, both initiation I was here, this temple. This is my also spiritual home. So I am very much pleasing, very nice, thank you. So now I want to chant this mantra, this Prabhupada like very much. Whenever Prabhupada give class here, he is always asking, where is Anantaram Shastris? Where is Panditji? I want to hear that he should come. One day, Prabhupada was sitting Vyasasana here. He was in the guest house. He doesn't came. Then Prabhupada said, call him though, Panditji. We have to start this prayer. So then he came, that he chanted. So every year when I was in Bombay, Vyas Puja day, I was chanting this Mangalacharan. Then Bhima Prabhu was the president in Bombay. So that time he said that this is wonderful Prabhupada prayer. So we should after Mangalarati, we should start here. Okay, give me one Xerox copy to me. So I will start. So then they started Bombay also after the Mangalarati, they start this prayer. And Prabhupada said this prayer should chant in Gurukul boy also. When Yashodanandan Swami, he is a chief and the guest, the Gurukul, every morning this prayer was chanting the Gurukul boys. Prabhupada said to Yashodanandan, he said this prayer should go to and the Gurukul also. So after Mangalahati, all Gurukul boy, they chanting this mantra. So I am chanting that. Krishnayika cheta madhamoha vinasakarin madrishti gochara Prabhupada Swami dosa pavirti paridoshita manda buddhi sanchintayami charana tava bhakti ekto Vrindavan ramana reti prasiddha bhuma Tatra Krishna Balarama Subhada Mule Jnanam Param Parama Krishna Sudami Juktam Dantastu Daiva Prabhupada Namo Namaste 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 Kripa Bhuma Draste Namaste Namaste Mahananda Date Namo Namami Punaraksha Raksha Vide Videhi Daksha Daksha Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhakti Vedanta Namine Vasannaya Vasandaya Tasmai Shri Gurubhe Namah Shri Banga Bhumi Jana Bhushana Gaura Leela Gauranga Bhava Parisarana Matra Shila Radha Mukunda Pada Padma Mano Bilasin Ananda Basi Prabhupada Namo Namaste Ananda Basi Gurudeva Namo Namaste Jagat Guru Prabhupada Ki Shri Krishna Balaram Ki Shri Jala Sham Sundar Lalita Vishaka Ji Ki Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Nitai Gaur Pramanande Haribo. Thank you. Haribo.
Now we're going to hear from our Vrindavan's own Darshana Mataji. She needs no introductions. She's been here since the very beginning days of Krishna Balaram here, and she's pretty much our historian here. She's taking records, everything that has happened here over the years. So I'm very happy to ask Darshana Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. The festival was organized by Prabhupada in such a way to satisfy everyone, not only the devotees, but also the outsiders. So some outsiders requested, you have a long festival. So Prabhupada acceded to that, and it was a very long festival here. 2 weeks of celebrations. The beginning, first 3 days, because you see, everything as usual was completely last minute. As soon as something was finished, then the doors opened and we had to start. So the same with the temple. Everything very last minute. We came a little early from Mayapur because all the devotees had gone to Hyderabad, and we thought we had about 13 days to get the altars ready, the kitchen ready, everything ready, you know. And in those days, we had Mangal Artik in Prabhupada's main room because there was no temple opened yet. So, and we, because there was nowhere for the devotees to live, we lived in a dharmshala in Loy Bazaar and would walk from Loy Bazaar from Mangal Artik every morning. So one morning, after Mangal Artik, Prabhupada had sent Bhavananda to be the director of the festival. He makes an announcement that I just got a telegram from Srila Prabhupada, and he's arriving tonight at 7 o'clock. So what we thought we had 2 weeks to do had to be done in 1 day. And you never saw such coordination, especially in ISKCON, and you never will see such coordination in your whole eternity. Because Bhavananda was the director, he had everybody moving. All their lordships were living in Prabhupada's house. The kitchen wasn't set up. Nothing was ready. And within 1 day, he had all the altars completely cleaned. He had 4 devotees carry each deity onto the altars. He had the kitchen set up. Then the pujaris came from outside. Now how they came was very interesting. When Prabhupada arrived, everything was ready for him. But then Prabhupada had to decide as soon as he came here, because there was going to be a 3-day installation program, not just 1 day. He had to decide who were going to be the purohits to perform it. And one group, Yashodanandan had brought from South India, and one group, Yashomati Nandan had brought locally, because Yashomati Nandan is a Joshi, a Brahmin, so he brought Shripad Bhimsen Joshi. So Prabhupada wanted to test the two. The first one from South India, they made their terms and agreement, how much money they wanted, everything, and then Prabhupada invited them to take prasadam. They refused. So then Prabhupada said, they will not take prasadam from us. That means after they perform the yajna, they will claim that we are not qualified to do the worship, only they can do the worship, and then they'll take all the donations. So he rejected them. Then Bhimsen Joshi came, a local, and Prabhupada was very happy that he was local, because his whole purpose of doing this ceremony was to please the local Brahmins. So Bhimsen Joshi, he agreed to everything, and then Prabhupada offered him prasadam. He took prasadam, and Prabhupada said, yes, this is our man, and they started. And they set up everything. So even Prabhupada's house wasn't completed in those days. There was no kitchen. I was cooking in what was going to be the deity kitchen, and then suddenly one day, all these Brahmins come in with all their paraphernalia, and it was all over them. We didn't know where to go, we didn't know what to do, so Shrutikirti, he asked Prabhupada what to do, so there was a little hole in the wall. We started cooking for Prabhupada there because they had to set up, Prabhupada wanted 10 plates. If you count, there's 4 plus 2 plus 4. Every lordship had to have their own plate. And the standard that Prabhupada made for the cooking You just wouldn't believe it. At nighttime, 8 puris, 2 different types of pakoras, samosas. I mean, it was just fantastic. Except there were no devotees to cook everything. It was the only thing missing. Because no one wanted to stay here. Now it's April 10th. So this is, April 20th was the grand opening. It's hot now. It's 45 degrees 2 days ago. You can imagine even 10 days from now. So everyone was just waiting to leave. Prabhupada wanted everyone to come here, but it was very hot. They couldn't even find a head pujari. The GBC, it was Bhagavan at the time, he was assigned to find a head pujari. This was while the installation ceremony was going on. They didn't have a head pujari yet. So he asked Govardhan from Detroit. And Govardhan, he said, no, I'm not qualified to stay in Vrindavan. No, so you better find somebody else. So then he asked Nartamananda. Nartamananda, he was the head pujari in Paris. Because very few men did pujari work at that time. They were all out on Sankirtan, and the women did all the pujari work. But Nartamananda was thinking, this is a good opportunity for me. I'll learn how to do the worship as they actually do in Vrindavan. He accepted it. So, okay, we had head pujari. Now we needed pujaris. They've made announcements each morning. If anyone has any experience in pujari work, please see Nartamananda. So for the grand opening, it was so exciting. The devotees would stand around and watch all of these performances, and Prabhupada was the yagyaman. He had to be there every day, very sober, going through all of the rituals as was explained. And slowly, the yagya started coming forward to the last day, the 20th, this Ram Navami day. And that was the day their lordships were dressed in white silk. They had white bandages around their eyes, and on top of their eyes was wax. So the Purohit, he sent in a message to Prabhupada that in order to take the wax off of the eyes, we need a piece of gold. And we need some jewels for the yagya. So Prabhupada, he said, I've tolerated 3 days of ceremonies. I've done everything to satisfy the locals, but no gold. So they had to do without gold. And when they took the wax off of the eyes of all their lordships, Prabhupada wouldn't let us say the deities. He didn't allow us to say the deities. So he had to say their names. So when the wax was taken off, brought into the temple was a calf and a young girl. It was the first thing that everyone got to see. And then they were carried onto the altar. And it took some time then, because just like now we have 11 o'clock the offering, and then 12 o'clock the arti. So they had to dress everybody. They had to do the Maha offering. There were special cooks that had come from America. There was Gopati, there was Bojadev, there was Apurva, there was Shankadas. All the greatest cooks from America were there. Were you there? He was one of the greatest cooks too. You weren't there? Oh. He would have been in the kitchen if he were here. So they were all cooking up a storm, and Pishima was there with her crew cooking. And by the time 11 o'clock came, there were over 108 preparations. And they had these plates, the big plates, plus they had, just like we do now, they had to put everything everywhere. Even while the offering was going on, they were still bringing in things. Meanwhile, Prabhupada out here, he was sitting here with the governor and other elite guests from Mathura who came with the governor. They started giving lectures, and just to prove that we're devotees and we accept the culture of India, Prabhupada had Yashomanti Nandan speak in Hindi, and then he had Achyutananda Swami speak in Hindi. So after Achyutananda Swami spoke, Prabhupada, he apologized. he said, Jaise Guru Vaise Chele. Because Prabhupada, when he spoke Hindi, it was difficult for him because he was Bengali. So,
You have to translate that.
yeah, he said, just as the guru is, so the disciple is. Because so finally, it was time for the arti. Prabhupada went in. He had a full dress, kurta, everything. He offered his obeisances in front of the 3 altars. And then he made sure he had Brahmananda stand at the curtain to make sure nobody would open that curtain. Prabhupada wanted to be the person to open the curtain. So Prabhupada threw open the curtain and started that arti. And we know the stories because we hear them on the DVDs about everyone was crushed there, and Dinabandhu will tell his story about he was lifted off of the ground and just moved from place. He started to panic. And everyone was getting crushed here and there and everywhere. And then not only did Prabhupada do the arti, but after the arti, he came out of the altar, and he stood right there. And you can look in the pictures. Then Shruti Kirti got in the picture there. He was there. So he started to lecture right on the altar. And what he lectured was, he said, this is an international temple. It's for everyone. You all should worship Krishna together. He said, all of this nonsense of CIA, do you think the Americans are so stupid that they're going to become Vaishnavas just to enter into, he just spoke so freely and so openly that you all come and worship here. The foreigners, the Indians, the locals, everyone should come and worship Krishna and Balaram together in this temple. This temple is for everyone. And then right after that, they had the Jarasandha play here. And then Prabhupada, he had assigned Smarahari. He was our temple commander at the time. And he told Smarahari who to contact, which halwai, exactly what to make, how much quantity. Prabhupada was going to feed 6,000 people full prasadam. 2 sabjis, puri, laddu, and kachori, and samosa. That was for the masses. And for the class, Prabhupada added on rasgula and kheer. That was another 2,000, 1,000 people. So the people were already lining up, and they were lining up all the way to the street. I mean, anywhere there was space, they were making lines. And then Prabhupada had arranged for the Dundee Ashram, which was empty at that time. Full Dundee Ashram was complete with devotees and the locals. And Yashomanti Nandan was put in charge of the serving. He had hundreds of devotees helping him serve all these people. And Prabhupada, he and the governor, they went through all the rows to make sure everyone was satisfied. Prabhupada, the governor, first they went here, then they went there, and then finally Prabhupada brought the governor into what's now our Prabhupada library. It was an empty room then with sofas, and he fed the governor specially made South Indian prasadam. And before he fed him, the guards had to taste test everything to make sure we weren't trying to poison him. So he was pleased, and then finally, that's why I called Shruti Kirti, because I was running back and forth. Prabhupada never broke his schedule. Never. It didn't matter how important anything was. I was running. I saw Prabhupada here, I saw Prabhupada there, but he wasn't coming to take his prasadam. So finally, at 3:30, after everyone had eaten and Prabhupada had fasted the whole day, 3:30, Prabhupada came in and took his prasadam. And then, then 4:30, everything started again. The temple opened, and then Prabhupada had full stream all night long. long. All of the Goswamis congratulated him. You can see the pictures with joy. And then when that was all over at night, we're just talking about this one day now, at night, he had all of his leaders in his room with him. And he was very happy that they had accomplished the grand opening. To them, he said, I will spend lakhs of rupees to open temples like this. But what I really want is published. He said, there are 17 books waiting to be printed. I've lost all my enthusiasm to translate now. I've finished the complete Chaitanya Charitamrita and only 3 volumes are printed. I've finished the whole 4th canto and nothing is printed. I've already started the 5th canto. So then Rameshwar was there and he, so it happened a little later, but Prabhupada gave Rameshwar 2 months to finish 17 volumes of books. So we thought we had a marathon, but this marathon later the Prabhupada gave. Prabhupada never stopped. He never relaxed. As soon as this temple was finished, he sent Sarabi and Gunarnava to Bombay to construction there. So even this festival, it speakers, and then finally on the yard you can see the pictures. And in those days, it was a marathon initiation. It's not like now when you have a because nearly 1,000 devotees had come for that festival, and many devotees were waiting. Amazing. Because I was just in the, I always wanted, I researched, we interviewed, Dharmatma went we made a book, and that up to his samadhi, how he established this temple and how important this temple was for him. So we are so fortunate of service here. Srila Prabhupada, we're all part of his transcendental body, working to fulfill all of his desires here. And there's another book, Vrindavan Dham as it is, and that was the instructions Prabhupada gave for this temple. So any of you who are living here and serving here, study these instructions, because he gave very details how he wanted the kirtans, how he wanted the cooking, how he wanted the preaching. Everything was given before Prabhupada entered Samadhi. So all of you stay here. He wanted Brijbasis to serve here, but he wanted everybody fully engaged. In those days, we had the rule, 8 hours of service. And no Mangalarti, no Prasadam. And it was strict. So if you can keep that standard, you're most welcome to stay and help with all of the instructions, fulfilling the instructions, just like one got fulfilled today, the museum, most beautiful. And you all stay here and serve Srila Prabhupada and help fulfill his instructions. Hare Krishna.
Yes. And as the days were approaching for the opening, she said, Prabhupada, so many things he had to take care of. One of the things he said to me, he said, the women, they were doing everything for the deities. The men, women were making the clothes, the women were preparing everything. Jamuna, Vishva, so many of them getting all the outfits ready. But he said, they can work behind the scenes. That was they can work behind the scenes. But he was concerned, so we're taking care of him as well all of the time. So next, we're going to hear we're very fortunate. Shivaram Maharaj is here. And also, time is going by. We only have about a half a dozen more speakers that have to speak. And I think we'll be finishing this by 10:15, right? And then we have Abhishek. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namo Shivaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti-Vedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Srinivadika Satarine. I wasn't here since 1975. I remember picking up my ex-vice president in 1974 from the airport, and for the failed opening that didn't quite happen here at that time. But it's really wonderful to see that we're almost 50 years down the road, and this temple is so beautiful. It is not only here in the temple room itself, and the extraordinary shringar, beautiful flower decorations. Whenever I'm here and I see decorations for festivals, beats everything anywhere else in the world. And really my thanks to Panchagoda Prabhu and the deity worship team, and everyone else who I don't know and don't see. One thing is we opened it, but probably more important is that we maintained it. And we maintained it in style, and that's really to the credit of the devotees who are here, because in Vrindavan it's not easy to maintain. I mean, I'm talking about the weather, the monkeys, the weather, the water, you name it, the sun, and what to speak of now with global warming added to all of that. So it's an extraordinary difficult place to maintain. And developments outside, the nice shoe room, and I've yet to see the museum before I go. I think Srila Prabhupada would be really, really pleased, really happy. I really only came here the following year in 1976. I remember seeing Srila Prabhupada sitting here. There was something different with the Sringasan, wasn't there? The lions? The lions were there. Were they different looking? Yeah. Yeah, they didn't quite look like lions at that time. Oh. I was 47 years old now. But my good friend Surabi Abhipalyantam Swami, we lived together for quite some time, first in Chicago and then in Dallas, and we used to stay when he came to London. He would tell me stories how Srila Prabhupada first sent him to Govindaji temple, back of Govindaji temple. That's the other Govindaji temple, old temple, and he said it should be like that. That was the model that Srila Prabhupada had, the same type of sunken courtyard, same pillars. That was his concern. Are the pillars going to stand? Anyway, they're standing, and everything is really standing beautifully. He told me a lot of things about the deities and about the temple, and anyway, sorry, 45 years have gone by. I can't remember. That was 1979, 1980. 40 odd years. But it's wonderful. That was the to make, and as Devi Shakti Mataji concluded about the Srila Prabhupada's emphasis that as important as all this, as much money I've invested in this, more important is the publication and distribution of my books. That is not in as good shape as this temple is on a global level. In India, it is. India is leading the world. At one time, in the world, it was an extraordinary powerhouse, and book distribution was really at its peak, 75, 76, 77, when Srila Prabhupada was here. Anyway, we're all living by the mercy of Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram Mandir, Radha Madhava, and Sridhar Mayapur. May that same type of maintenance in terms of standards and ever-increasing book distribution worldwide be there. That the sales of the book was not just some phase for the past, it's the bloodline that makes the Krishna consciousness movement grow. As important as deity worship is, Nama Sankirtanam Yasya. The chanting of the holy name, Sankirtan Yaga, preaching, which means distribution of transcendental literature, which means Srila Prabhupada's books, over and above any other publications that comes out. That is what makes the Krishna consciousness movement unique. Otherwise, we'll be a nice temple, but there are also a lot of other nice temples. No one matches. There's no argument. I don't know if anybody does this. But at the same time, we have to be aware that our movement's spiritual health is based upon, yes, how nicely we worship our deities, how nicely we maintain Srila Prabhupada and his instructions at the center of our lives, which means how we distribute books all over the world. Anyway, this is a different story now. It's Ram Navami, and it's the beginning of the worship of Krishna Balaram. So I'm not going to get into book distribution, but that is really what was Srila Prabhupada's message also here to those who heard it, and it's recorded by Satsvarupa Maharaj for those who haven't, and devotees also repeat that over and over again. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi.
Thank you very much, Mike. Thanks for being here with my very dear friend, Bibi Govinda Maharaj. He's cooked many offerings for the lordships here. Hot chapati? I go chapati, yeah.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vicharane Nirvisesha Sunyavati Paschachadi Zitarane. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, and Hare Krishna to all my exalted God brothers who are here today. Also, I was not here in 1975. And after Dharmatma Prabhu invited me to the program the other day, and after Panchagoda invited me to the program, I was trying to go back 50 years and recall what we were thinking in the West about the temple being opened in Vrindavan. And actually, I can't recall so much. We knew that Srila Prabhupada was building a temple in Vrindavan. We didn't know all of the ins and the outs and the ups and the downs about everything that was going on. But we knew that he was building a temple here. And we knew that Srila Prabhupada said Vrindavan is his home. And I personally felt, Srila Prabhupada is making a temple here so that we can all come to his divine home and we can engage in devotional service in Vrindavan. So that was basically, the thought. And for all of us, everything that we heard that Srila Prabhupada did, or everything that we heard that Srila Prabhupada accomplished, we always felt great joy and satisfaction. We would receive a letter and we would hear that he had done this or he had done that, and it was just as if we were so intimately connected and we were all totally thrilled within our hearts just to hear what our great spiritual master had done. So then after, the devotees started coming back, and gradually we started seeing pictures of the event, and we knew how extraordinary it had been. We also heard that Srila Prabhupada, he understood that many people, they did not understand who Gaur-Nitai are. And he did not many people don't understand that the specific way to approach divine seva in Sri Vrindavan Dham is through rendering service to the feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his Sankirtan mission. And Srila Prabhupada really, he really drilled us on this. You have to serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we felt like, yes, we had to serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by going and distributing books, and we, developed temples in the West, and whatever service that we had, we really took that to our hearts as being our contribution to the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so that we could approach Vrindavan Dham. So Srila Prabhupada, he understood that many people didn't know who Gaur-Nitai are, and he put Krishna Balaram here, and he said, I want people to understand that before they came as Krishna and Balaram, and now they've come as Gaur-Nitai. And everybody. So, yes, after that, the eagerness, great eagerness was rising within the heart. Get to Vrindavan, get to Vrindavan, get to Vrindavan. And then I came in 76, and I always mention that Vrindavan is like a very dangerous virus that's much more dangerous than COVID or anything else. And when it gets into your blood, it doesn't go out. I got the virus in 76, and then I came back to serve in 77, and I can remember Bhima from that time. I think maybe we first met in 76 over here. And Bhima and I always had such a jovial relationship because we're sort of both from the same geographic area of America. And yeah, and it's been going on wonderfully throughout the years. I would like to give thanks. I would like to give thanks to, I guess first and foremost, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada for having this wonderful vision to take the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and spread it to every town and village throughout the world. And I would like to thank all of those sincere disciples of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada who were instrumental in building this beautiful mandir and establishing the worship over here. We're here today and we're relishing seeing these beautiful decorations, such beautiful shringar, such beautiful festivals, and we know that this is not just a one-off, but this is a common event here in Vrindavan because of the dedication of the different devotees. I'd like to thank His Grace Panchagoda Prabhu, who has been here for at least 20 years, and he's been developing, fixing, making more beautiful, maintaining, upholding spiritual practices, encouraging the devotees. Very much, Panch, I really express my appreciation to you. Dinbandhu Baba, you've been here for so many years. Your deep love for Vrindavan. You are like the main carrier of the virus. You're injecting people all over the earth planet. My thanks to you. Bhima Prabhu, who is on the VEB, who is part of the board that helps to guide Vrindavan, and Bhima Prabhu, I think, is Shrutakirti or somebody else, that he's been in India his whole life. My great thanks to you. Shruta Prabhu, who has come here and has become an associate and good friend and support for Panchagoda Prabhu. Thank you all very much. And all of us here, we stand on the shoulders of all of those great devotees who actually established this mandir. You know, great thanks to Surabi Maharaj, who is no longer in this world, but he built a beautiful mandir for Krishna Balaram in this world, and I'm sure that Srila Prabhupada made a wonderful mandir for Surabi in the other world. Guru Kripa Maharaj and his associates who, you know, toiled tirelessly collecting funds. Just so much thanks we have to give to all the great pioneers who were so dedicated to the devotional service of Srila Prabhupada. And you all were having a chat for a few minutes, or topics came up about Prabhupada taking his prasad. And I'll just take a couple more minutes to add one anecdote. A number of years ago, quite spontaneously, one extraordinarily hot summer morning, I was doing Prikram, and I got to Keshigat about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I started having this big urge, go to Dwarkadish and Mathura, go to Dwarkadish and Mathura. And I had not been to Dwarkadish for ages, such a long time. And so I contacted Vrindavan Bihari and I said, please arrange a taxi, I'll come back, do my puja, then we'll go to Dwarkadish. And it was hot. So I came back, did my puja, and about 9:30, 10 o'clock, then we left for Mathura and we went to Dwarkadish. First we went to Ashram, had darshan there, then we went to Dwarkadish temple. Or first we went, and it became late, and Vrindavan Bihari looked at me and said, oh Guru Maharaj, temple closed now, too late. And just when he said that, one man was walking down the street and he said, no, today is Dwarkadish's Rath Yatra in the temple. So the temple is open all afternoon. So it seems that Dwarkadish called me to see his Rath Yatra. And I was armed with cameras, as we always are, and I went in the temple and it was packed. And a beautiful Rath Yatra was going on, and I took out my camera and started to take photos, and then one guard came and he said, no, please, you cannot do. So I decided I would go speak to the temple in charge. And I went into the temple office, and there was one man there who must have been about 50, and he was dressed in a very nice starched kurta, but a pair of jeans on, and very, elegant looking gentleman. I said, sir, can I take photos? And he said, Maharaj, I'm sorry, but we have our temple photographer, and you understand. And I said, yes, no problem. And I went back to enjoy the festival. And then a few minutes later, I turned to one of my people who were with me. I said, he spoke such good English, and we don't know the history of Dwarkadish so clearly. I said, let's go back and ask him about the history. So we went back and I said, Prabhu, could you please explain to me the history of Dwarkadish? He said, with pleasure. And so he told us. And then he paused and he said, I have another story. Would you like to hear it? And I said, sure, I always love to hear stories. And he said, my father owned the printing press where Prabhupada printed his first Srimad Bhagavatams in Delhi. And he said, prior to the printing, he said, Prabhupada would come to my home every evening, and he would bring his manuscript, and he said, my father's English was much better than Prabhupada's English. So we would go through, and they would like make some corrections in the grammar, so forth and so on. He said, every evening that Prabhupada would come, my mother would cook prasad. And then my mother would request me to go in and serve. And he said, I was just a boy, but I would go in and serve. And he said, and without fail, every evening, Prabhupada would tear a chapati, pick up some sabji, take a bite, and then he would call me, and Prabhupada would put that in my mouth. And he said, and then my father helped to procure paper, because paper was impossible to get at that time. And my father set up all the letters in the press, whatnot, and the Bhagavatam was printed. And then the man said, and then when Prabhupada was going to go to America, we helped him with shipping his books somehow or other. And then he went to America, and we didn't hear anything about it. And we didn't hear any more about it. And my father and I always said, what happened to Swamiji? What happened to Swamiji? And then, in 1975, his father was reading the newspaper, and he saw that A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami was opening a temple in Vrindavan, and Prabhupada's picture was there. And his father said, look, he's there. He did what he said he was going to do. Let's go to Vrindavan on that day. So he said they just got on a train, came to Vrindavan. When they got to Vrindavan, everything was finished. He said, I want to meet Prabhupada. So he went to Prabhupada's house, and the door was locked. He was knocking on the door, and he said, please, I want to meet Swamiji. And they told him, they said, I'm sorry, he's taking his meal now. And then the man said, but just tell him that such and such person has come. So they went inside, whoever it was, and told Prabhupada, such and such man has come. And he said that in 2 minutes, or even less than a minute, Prabhupada was at the door. Prabhupada was embracing them both, father and son. And Prabhupada said, please, come take prasad with me. And he said, while they were sitting there, Prabhupada said, bring life member cards. And Prabhupada signed the life membership cards himself. And then the man, he said, and he opened his wallet, and he said, this is my card signed by Prabhupada. And so then he smiled, and he said, did you like that story? And I said, yeah, I really like that story. He said, good. Now go take pictures of Dwarkadish. So Srila Prabhupada, he gave us such a blessing, and his disciples, they gave us such a blessing. We should always be thankful, and with that spirit of thanks and gratitude, we should give our lives for continuing to expand the Sankirtan mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Maharaj, he was almost Prabhupada's servant. You were almost Prabhupada's servant. He was such a good cook. Prabhupada didn't have a servant, he was suggested, but his temple president wouldn't let him go. His whereabouts are unknown now, that person.
I used to be a good cook. Now I only chant and dance.
He can smell any kind of prasadam and tell you every different thing that's in there, every spice. So next, we're going to hear from Ananda Mataji, And she was here for the opening, so you can see all these different flavors that the devotees have, their experience with the opening. So we're very happy to have you here. She's of course a resident here in Vrindavan, eternally. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada's mercy is all we are made of. At every moment, it's Prabhupada's mercy that is sustaining us in our various services. Because every living entity is part and parcel of Krishna, we're all in reality eternally connected. And Srila Prabhupada is the Jagat Guru who is orchestrating the journey of this whole universe back home, back to Godhead. And if a person as unqualified as myself is allowed to glorify Srila Prabhupada and dream about fulfilling his desires by the light shed by devotees who have surrendered their souls and ability that comes along to fulfilling Prabhupada's desires, and that gives me great hope that only by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and the sincere devotees, anyone can regain their lost Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada many times mentions that Krishna is not impressed with beauty or any type of ability, wealth, fame, because he is the one that is distributing all these opulences according to the receptivity of each one of us. There's one thing we have that Krishna doesn't have, and that's our ability to love him. And really that's the essence of all of Srila Prabhupada's books. I hope I'm not disturbing anyone by being too sensitive. That's another of my disqualifications, but just to emphasize that personalism and love and trust, Prabhupada, these are the incredible gifts that Prabhupada wishes for all of us to receive in their full measure. So certainly we owe everything to Srila Prabhupada. None of us can imagine his level of austerity and tolerance and forgiveness and joy and beauty and expertise, love, that he loves us all. So basically, we live in great hope. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chittite Kuriya Aikya Arana Kuriya Manayasha, that gradually, for some, very slowly, for persons like myself, Srila Prabhupada is reassuring us that if we just stick to the principles and follow in the footsteps of our exalted Vaishnavas, on all sides, seen and unseen, in whatever species of life, then we all have a golden opportunity. Not only do we have a golden opportunity, we have Lord Chaitanya's blessings. He wants us all to come home, and we will all go home back to Godhead. Sorry, continue. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hey, Krishna, thank you very much. Now everyone's been waiting to hear from he's getting ready. I have from Mahadi. In April of 1975, many of us book distributors in America wanted to come to the opening, but we were told that Prabhupada would be more pleased if we continued to collect Lakshmi and distribute his books. A portion of our collections, almost $1,000 a day, would go for Vrindavan and Mayapur construction. We felt great joy and satisfaction to be serving the opening of the glorious temple with our Sankirtan services. For years, 6 of us women were living in a van, going here and there to collect Lakshmi and distribute Prabhupada's books for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada. We all talked about going to Vrindavan frequently. Srila Prabhupada eternally is our master for always engaging in the Sankirtan mission. We felt so grateful despite the various difficult austerities. We're so grateful that Prabhupada specifically created his Krishna Balaram temple here in Vrindavan, which has become our home. Thank you, all devotees, for maintaining this extraordinary Vrindavan temple, which is distributing Krishna consciousness profusely in every town and village. Many visitors come and call Prabhupada's Vrindavan temple the 8th wonder of the world. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And your servant Mahadi Das.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyari Paschati Desatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Panchakalpadruvishta Kripasinurvevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. So also I was very fortunate to be here in 1975 for the grand opening of this wonderful temple. And like everybody's explained, Prabhupada had the local Brahmas do it because he wanted people to understand that this was a bona fide temple. Otherwise, he said, this chanting is the real installation. He had big, fat Brahmas with great big sikhas. They had this thatched roof hut right here in this corner. And they had all kinds of pots inside and mango leaves and coconuts and strings all around. We'd never seen all this stuff before. We were amazed, you know. And like everybody said, Prabhupada would come and he would tolerate, they would do some certain ceremonies with him. Every day he would come down and we would all be there and watching. And the second day, it was a 3-day festival. The second day, I remember very clearly, it was very cloudy. And ask anyone, for the last month, have you seen a cloud here? Nope. But that day, somehow or other, I remember looking up through the courtyard here. We didn't have this curtain over this wire or anything. All these clouds were just like swirling, grayish clouds were swirling around and around and around and around. And I was just thinking that the demigods must have come down to watch the ceremonies, though they were hiding in the clouds. Just that day. The next day, no clouds again. But for over a month, we haven't seen a cloud here at all. But just that day, there were so many clouds. And all the deities were just lined up here. They were standing right here. And I remember, now it's, almost 50 years, my brain is funny, especially since COVID. But I think it was the day before, we had a big procession. I assume we took the small deities with us. And we had a big procession through Vrindavan. And there was just like in front of, Prabhupada was there, and there was like a bamboo forest around Prabhupada. All these sannyasis were there, their dandas, it was like a bamboo forest. And we went through the whole town and came back. It was very, very ecstatic, especially being there with Prabhupada. Then the final day, the deities were here, they had this wax on their eyes, that was very amazing for us. They're all dressed in white silk, it was amazing. And for us it was a very serious thing. But for these Brahmins, Krishna is their friend. It's like if you go to the village in Braj, they all say, Ram Ramji, Ram Ram Bhai, Ram to Bhagwan hai. Krishna hamara lala hai. Krishna is our Ram is Bhagwan, Krishna, he's our friend. He's our little boy. So they had all these clay pots with different substances, and they were just with great joy. For them it was just like their little friend, they were just throwing like this. Because Ras was very serious, you're pouring like this. And they were just boom, boom. And I don't know what we did with the Charnamrit, because they were just standing on the floor here. It must have gone down the drain. I don't know. I don't remember. Now it's 47 years. But they were just chanting all these mantras and throwing all these substances over the deities. And then they took the deities, the wax out of the eyes, and then somehow everybody put them out. They took the deities up to the altar, like 4 people. Deities were heavy, took them up to the altars. And then, like we've heard, there were so many lectures going on. Then finally, the suspense was there was already a crowd every day, but this day was huge crowd, as everybody's mentioned. We were just waiting for those, finally the doors came open. We'd never seen such huge carved wooden doors like this. It was amazing, everything was amazing for us, because this is the second time I'd ever been in India. I was for the festival in 74, and I also came for 75. And then Prabhupada came out, he blew the conch shell, and then Prabhupada opened the curtains of Krishna Balaram. And everybody just surged forward. And it was just, like Devi Shakti said, I was taken off of my feet. And I was going this way, I was going that way. My feet weren't even on the ground. And, I would just, probably 25-year-old kid, only twice, been out of the country. This is the second time I've been out of the country. And we always see in the newspaper that in these third world countries, there's always these stampedes and crushes. I thought I was going to die. And somehow when you're in those dangerous positions, somewhere you get this energy. I just like a football player, I just boom, 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 just pushed my way out to the courtyard. And then I turned around and I saw the most amazing thing. Prabhupada was doing arti. And when he turned around to offer to the devotees, he had this smile on his face that I'll never forget. And then he offered the lamp, and he turned around, that smile got even bigger. By the time he got to the peacock fan, oh my God, you see that picture out there on the front of the temple now, Prabhupada smiled, so much satisfaction. This was the most beautiful, still the most beautiful temple in Vrindavan. There's other temples, they may be made of all marble, no brick or anything, but there's no kirtan, there's no bhog offering, there's no katha going on, nothing going on. I ran into some teenage girls. What do teenage girls in India think about? But anyway, they say, we went to so many temples. We like your temple, because there's life in your temple. There's life, a kirtan is going on. Somebody will talk to us and tell us about Krishna. We like your temple. We always, when we come here, we don't go to another temple. After we've seen all the other, we come here again and again, because there's life here. So it's still the most beautiful temple. Everything we were just so amazed. Prabhupada was so satisfied. When you see that picture out on the front of the temple, you see the smile of when you could hear on the tape Prabhupada say, fully satisfied. You can see that smile and you can understand what is full satisfaction. Huh? Huh? And it was just an incredible experience. I know there's a lot of people that want still have to speak. We won't take much, but everything was, for us who didn't stay here, was an amazing experience. Those days when we went to Hyderabad, we went to the Hyderabad program. We rode for I don't know how many hours on a train, and there was no mats on the seats then, it was all wood. We sat on wood, you know, and all the soot, those days, they weren't diesel engines, they were all these coal-fired engines. You know, all this black soot would come back, all your dhoti and kurta and sari, everything would come covered with black. We flew back to Delhi. I said, no, I'm not going on that again. That was amazing. Somehow or other we got a very special deal on flight ticket for me and my wife. And somehow the devotees had Prabhupada in the very first row. So when we came in the door, Prabhupada looked up, he saw devotees, he was so amazed, you know, he just smiled at us and his eyes got very big, you know, he saw devotees and we knew this is the safest flight in the universe. You know, you worry when you get on a flight. We weren't worried on that flight at all. And then there was a Pandal program in Delhi, then there was a Pandal program in a place called Modinagar. And then we had all these buses, we all came to Vrindavan. In those days we all stayed in Fogal Ashram. Now nobody even looks at it with the corner of their eye, but those days that was the place to be. So, and it's just so amazing. This temple is just so amazing in so many ways, because everybody told Prabhupada that, why are you building a temple so far out there? Who will come? So I'm standing down here in the courtyard getting bumped back and forth during Arti. I'm just thinking that Prabhupada's up there in Golok, smiling down and laughing. He got the last laugh. They said, who will come there? And now it's so crowded. And everybody loves this temple because there's life here. Kirtan is going on 20 hours a day. Preaching is going on. Kirtan is going on. Arti is going on. Everything is going on. And so like Devi Shakti, we also invite you to come become part of our Krishna Balaram community and help us spread the glories of Srila Prabhupada and Krishna Balaram and Gaur-Nitai. Prabhupada specifically put Gaur-Nitai and Krishna Balaram because he wanted everyone to know that this Krishna and Balaram, they came as Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. Because even after so many hundreds of years of Gaudiya Vaishnavism being here in Vrindavan, they're all busy pretending to be gopis or something. Nobody, even the very respectable Brishbasis, I mean, oh yeah, Lord Chaitanya was a great saint. This is after almost 500 years of Gaudiya Vaishnavas being here. The Brishbasis, oh yeah, Lord Chaitanya, he was a great saint. But Prabhupada wanted everyone to know that Lord Chaitanya, he's the supreme personality of Godhead Krishna, and Lord Nityananda is Krishna and Balaram. Is Balaram, excuse me, Balaram. Sri Sri Krishna Balaram ki, Sri Sri Nitai Gaur Sundar ki, Sri Sri Radha Shama Sundar ki, Jai Go Premanande. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. And we have Vyasaki Prabhu here, our godbrother, who is also a resident of Vrindavan now, and when he's not traveling around preaching and doing kirtan. So we'll hear from Vyasaki Prabhu.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudamani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. So in the beginning of 1975, I was in Los Angeles Temple. And it was very wonderful because Prabhupada came 4 times. So we got a lot of association with Srila Prabhupada. And even one of my services then was after the offerings were made to the deities, one of my services was to go and make the transfer and wash all the deities' plates and then bring out the Mahaprasad. So when Prabhupada came, then I also did that for Srila Prabhupada. And it was very popular, bringing out the Mahaprasad. But then in August, in India, there was a crisis, and all Americans had to leave. So Prabhupada sent a memo all over the ISKCON movement that anyone with a British Commonwealth passport, please come to India. So I was born in England. I had a British passport, so I went to my temple president. And at first he didn't want me to go. He said, no, you stay, you're doing good service. Yeah, but Prabhupada's calling, he wants us to come. So then he said, well, you stay until Mayapur festival, and then you can go with us. And I said, yeah, but Prabhupada's asking for us to come now. So he could see, oh, this guy is totally unsurrendered. He knew me as an unsurrendered devotee. So he said, well, I don't want you to commit an aparad, so I'm going to give you my sanction and my blessing. Because in those days, if you didn't follow the instructions of the temple president, it was considered aparad. That's what it was like in those days. So that's how I came to India. Now originally, I had always wanted to come to India, but I was a little in anxiety because I was thinking if I go to India, I'll never come back. I had this burning desire to go to India, but I thought, if I go, I'll never come back. But now Prabhupada's asking us to come, so okay, so I went. And of course, that's what happened. I never came back. But I'm so happy I could only be living here. So the first temple that I lived in was this, Krishna Balaram Mandir. It was very, very wonderful. We were living in the Brahmachari Ashram, and in the hot weather, that was a good place to be. In the cold weather, that was a horrible place to be. It was freezing. But in those days, we had a 24-hour kirtan. Prabhupada instituted a 24-hour kirtan, so we were doing 24-hour kirtan in those days, even though there weren't that many people here. So sometimes we had two shifts, one during the day, one during the evening. But we would always be doing the 24-hour kirtan. Of course, after Srila Prabhupada left, then that kind of tapered off. But thanks to our godbrother, Indra Prabhu, he reestablished that. What Prabhupada wanted, because this is what we should all be doing, what Prabhupada wants. It's his movement, his temple. We should be doing what he wants. Is that right? I remember one time, Hari Sori, who later became Prabhupada's servant, and how he became Prabhupada's servant, I'll tell you right now. But he was the temple commander at that time. So one afternoon, after we took lunch prasadam and took rest, he asked me to come and help clean the temple. He and I were going to clean the temple. So basically, we wanted to clean these chandeliers here. So we got a big ladder, and he said to me, I'll hold the ladder, you climb up. So he gave me a thing, a whisk or whatever it's called, feathers. I climbed up and I was cleaning the chandeliers, especially this one in the middle in particular. That's the one we started with. Then while that was going on, Gopal Krishna Maharaj, who at that time was Grihastha, he came and he looked in the temple and he looked at us. And then he said, Hari Sori, come here. So Hari Sori walked on over there and they spoke for 30 seconds. And then Hari Sori came back and said, I have to leave because Prabhupada needs a bodyguard. He's in Delhi and they want someone to be his bodyguard. So Hari Sori left, and I finished by myself, and he went to Delhi to become Prabhupada's bodyguard. Then a couple of weeks later, or maybe 10 days later, Prabhupada came to Vrindavan with Hari Sori, and now Hari Sori was Prabhupada's servant. And I had a realization why Hari Sori became Prabhupada's servant. Because he was so conscious that he kept a diary of everything that Prabhupada did. Now, if they'd asked me to be Prabhupada's servant, I wouldn't have kept a diary. But he did, he kept a diary, and so Prabhupada knew the right person to become his servant. Because as a bodyguard, he's not like the type of person to be a bodyguard. So anyway, that was that Leela. Then another Leela, I remember, was in December 3rd. There was sannyas initiations, and 3 brahmacharis came to take sannyas initiation. There was Prituputra from France, Sridhar, and Lokanath brahmacharis from Bombay. Although Sridhar was a Canadian, but he was living in Bombay at the time. They came and they took sannyas, and we had 3 new sannyasis, Prituputra Maharaj, Sridhar Maharaj, and Lokanath Maharaj. And then after the Jagya, they came around, asking for dakshina. So I just remember Lokanath Maharaj asking dakshina. I was in my room and he knocked on the door. And so I gave some dakshina. Then the next morning after breakfast, the temple president called me into his office. That was Akoyananda Swami. He was from New Zealand. And he said that our new sannyasi, Lokanath Maharaj, wants to go back to Bombay and he's looking for a brahmachari assistant and he recommended you. Do you want to go? Now it was December 3rd. I was freezing up in the brahmachari ashram. So immediately I said yes. That was my reason. Just so I could be somewhere warm. So that's when I left. But so I just wanted to mention a few brief things, but the real thing I wanted to talk about is what Prabhupada used to tell us who were living here in India. He would tell us special things that he didn't tell the devotees in the West. So the thing I especially want to say was he was explained to us the meaning of Krishna Balaram and why Krishna Balaram was in the center altar. Not everybody knows this. Because usually you have Radha and Krishna. In Vrindavan, Radha and Krishna is in the center altar, always. This is the home of Radha Krishna Leela. Krishna Balaram was in Nandagram. That was the place of Krishna Balaram Mandir, but in Vrindavan, everywhere else was Radha and Krishna. But Prabhupada explained one time the meaning of Krishna Balaram. He says that Krishna represents Goraksha. He has his flute. He plays his flute, and with his flute, he herds the cows. How does he herd the cows with his flute? He just walks in front of them playing, and they all follow, because they can't take his eyes off him. That's how Krishna herds cows. He doesn't have a stick hitting them from behind like we have to do. He would just walk ahead, and they would automatically follow because they loved Krishna, and they were attracted by the sound of the flute. So Krishna stands for Goraksha. And Balaram, he holds the plow, Haladhara. So he represents Krishi, agriculture. So Krishna and Balaram represent Krishi Goraksha. How to live according to Go Seva and Bhumi Seva. Living according to protecting the cows and getting all the milk products from the cows, and to grow our own food and be self-sufficient from the land. And Prabhupada also explained that the only way that people could become vegetarian was due to Krishi Goraksha. When Krishi Goraksha was established, people could stay in one place, grow their own food, have their milk products, and they could become vegetarian. Because without Krishi Goraksha, you had to go hunting. And then you would eat non-veg. So Krishi Goraksha was for vegetarian diet. And it was a diet for all devotees of Radha and Krishna, and all of the Vishnu avatars. So why Krishna Balaram were in the center altar? Because Prabhupada had remarked at that time, he was beginning to remark more and more about Daivi Varnashram. And he was saying that 50% of my work still has to be done. And the other 50% of the work was Daivi Varnashram, being self-sufficient, living off the land and the cows, which was represented by Krishna Balaram. Now in 1975, there was also sannyas initiations earlier. So the ones I spoke to were on December 3rd. But on April 20th, there was 2 other sannyas initiations. And one of them was Gaur Govinda Maharaj. So Gaur Govinda Maharaj took sannyas, and he came to see Srila Prabhupada after the ceremony and asked for what seva he should do. And Prabhupada said, you should go back to Odisha, you're from there, establish a temple in Bhubaneswar. And Maharaj said, Srila Prabhupada, which deity should I install? And Prabhupada said, Krishna Balaram. Then one of the GBCs, before they were going to leave after the Vrindavan festival was over, everyone was going to go back to the West. The GBC from France came to see Prabhupada. His name was Bhagwan Das. And he said, we just required some land outside of Paris, really wonderful, big land, and we want to establish a temple there. Prabhupada said, yes, you must establish a temple. You have my blessings. Which deity should we install? Krishna Balaram. So all of a sudden, starting from 1975, Prabhupada wanted everyone to establish Krishna Balaram deities because they represented Krishi Goraksha. That by worshipping Krishna Balaram, we would understand Krishi Goraksha and we would understand Daivi Varnashram. And he wanted us to live this way. He wrote that we should not be dependent on the Ugra karma activities of the demons, the corporations for our maintenance and support, for our well-being, for our food. We should become independent, self-sufficient. So he wanted everyone to establish Krishi Goraksha, independent farm communities, and it was spearheaded here first from Vrindavan Dham in 1975 when Prabhupada established first Krishna Balaram Mandir and then established all others around the world. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Krishna Balaram ji ki jai, Gaur Premanandi.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we have, I guess, a few minutes left. I've been asked to sit down and say something. So, of course, I had the very good fortune of being here with Prabhupada in 1972 for Kartik Festival. That was before there was anything here. Tamal tree was here on this land. That was it at that time. As I was saying earlier, and I said to Daiva Shakti, what for me was so different, I guess maybe strange, was these were regular activities when I was with Prabhupada. And at that time I really I still don't understand the significance of everything Srila Prabhupada did, especially establishing this temple in Vrindavan, as Dinabandhu explained as well, and we all see over and over again, as Prabhupada's smile grew during the course of the Arati. And that's all we got to see was the smile. We don't know. We never knew what was going on, what Prabhupada was thinking, what he was seeing, what he was hearing from Krishna Balaram as this was going on. But we can understand that Prabhupada had his own joke as far as numbers of people here. Prabhupada always knew, the same thing as he knew in Juhu. That was nothing, it was a fishing village, right, where you were. Fishing village and fishing mosquitoes. Now, it's heaven on earth. Right? Heaven on earth is there. So this is all the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and the very hard work of Srila Prabhupada. I've told many times, when the opening didn't happen in 1974, Prabhupada was very, very ill for several weeks. He was going to be here. And as Daiva Shakti said, Prabhupada, he was in charge of everything. And that was everywhere I went with Prabhupada. I said in the entourage, he was our temple president, temple commander, treasurer. Didn't give you money, but he was the treasurer, he was everything. So here, she said, Bhavananda was in charge. I knew specifically he was the best cleaner. He could spot a piece of dirt anywhere. So all these things were important to Srila Prabhupada. How everything looked perfect. He had the Brahmins here. But he had equal amounts of concern to see that everyone was taken care of. And that is also part of Vrindavan's history, and that's why today, everyone, we were there this morning, if you went over there with Srila Prabhupada this morning to the parking area, I said, actually, for me, that was the most amazing thing. That parking area is completely cleared out and all set to serve thousands of people, 5-course feast today. So all these things are by Srila Prabhupada's mercy. We have these beautiful new chandeliers here in the temple. You can't change the chandelier in Prabhupada's room. That stays there. The Prabhupada's room, that's where Prabhupada, we see what he did. So I guess we have a few more minutes. So as I was saying, when Prabhupada was very ill here, and at that time he also had the governor of UP come, and although Prabhupada had a fever of, I don't know how to say, maybe it was around 35 degrees, 104 degrees, he had me feel his forehead. I told you when he went out to speak that day, that was in 74, in September, I had to carry Srila Prabhupada over to this place over there, my hands under his arms, so I would walk him to each place. That time Prabhupada, there was no question of a wheelchair. He did everything on his own, but I would help. He sat down. Before he got there, he had me shave his face with this little Schick razor blade. I had never shaved Prabhupada. Prabhupada took care of himself, his bodily necessities for the most part. His nails were always clean and short. Never, always clean. Toenails, his fingernails. I never saw him do it. I never saw him cut his nails, but he must have done it often. So all these things were important. And to go out that day, he wanted to be shaved. He only had 2 days' growth. But that was Prabhupada's style. Prabhupada had style. He shaved. I shaved him. I had to push all those folds, make sure everything went nice. Then he went and bathed. I went to the bathroom with him. I helped him. Then he came back. He sat down in his place, and I had some things to do. And he put his tilak on to go out. And then I came back and he looked at me. He said, okay. He said, I'm ready. I said, yes, Prabhupada. And then he looked at me again. He said, do I have tilak? I said, he had just put it on 2 minutes before. This is how high his fever was. Nothing mattered to push on. Had to get this temple finished. He went out. No one knew. No one could understand he was healthy, not healthy. He delivered the same powerful speech. And then as soon as he was done, walked him back into the room, he laid down in bed. And that was it. But when the opportunity for the service was there, the opportunity to push this on, as he said, nothing was easy. Getting concrete was impossible in those days. You didn't just go to the store, you go to the cement shop. It didn't happen. It wasn't legal. It was doled out by the government. So many challenges Srila Prabhupada had. I was thinking one person I really miss here today is Brahmananda. Brahmananda, there's no one who was more a part of Prabhupada's life while he was preaching, and part of this community, part of this temple. And so yes, as I said, Brahmananda and I, we had a very special relationship. He was Prabhupada's secretary, I was Prabhupada's servant. We got along very nicely. I served him prasadam regularly. And again, as Daiva Shakti, that was the only place for anyone to be. I don't think Daiva Shakti mentioned, even the ladies, at one point they were sleeping in the library. She told me that was the precursor to the Pishima story, sleeping in my bed next to Prabhupada's sitting room. Because the ladies, Pishima included, they would sleep in what now is the library. There wasn't anyone else. And then Prabhupada, when he found out, no. So then it was the next day, Pishima was sleeping in my bed. You know, it went from being off to the side to being in Prabhupada's quarters. Of course, Prabhupada said, no. Then we went in together. He said, call her, Prabhupada's little sister. She was the most eager. Whenever Prabhupada would say, call Pishima, she'd be so excited. Go see her brother, she'd offer obeisances, sat up. And Prabhupada said, tell her she can't sleep in your bed. I said, Prabhupada, I can't tell her anything. I said, I can't speak Bengali. I said, nor does she didn't like me because I prevented her from being with her brother. I was the only person in ISKCON that Pishima would give me looks. He said, tell her. I said, Prabhupada, you tell her. Prabhupada told her. Then he looked at me. He said, don't worry, it won't happen again. I said, thank you, Prabhupada. As you know, 24 hours later, she was sleeping in my bed again, very nicely. Light what? Yeah. So I think, are we ready there on the altar? Hare Krishna? Mukunda Dat Prabhu? Yes. We're ready? Okay. So now, of course, everyone is going to take part. And as Prabhu said, for all of us here, it's just like being on the altar and pouring that honey and yogurt, pomegranate juice, all these wonderful things. So please, everyone, take part. Pay close attention. Chant very nicely for their lordships. This is a very special day today, our most special day here in Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.